Quick video here, taking a Java program written with the Swing library for a graphical presentation of turtle graphics in Java, not Python. And I was given an idea by a Python developer to have a function called draw square that my turtle can call and therefore draw a square. Now you see a square being drawn, but right now it's being drawn with a very crude for loop. I want to replace that for loop with a more sophisticated, reusable method. What they call in Python functions traditionally, in Java, just a semantic difference, I'll say, it's called a method. Okay, so here is the code that I'm going to be converting. Temporarily, I'm going to block comment out, get jiggy with it, leave that as an exercise to the human viewer of this video. Okay, well, in Python, you do an inline comment with a hashtag, but here in Java, it's 2 forward slashes. In Python, def defines a function, starts a function definition. But here in the AP curriculum, at least, all methods should be public. Don't even think about making a method private, even though technically it's possible. And you have to put a return type in here. Well, there are no return statements here, and maybe you haven't learned about return values yet in your curriculum. So I'm putting void because you can't just leave it blank. You have to put the word void. And because this function is in main and it's being called by the main method, I do need to put the keyword static in here, and this word static would go right there. Now, typically, that's not something that's like really stressed on the AP exam to know that, but it's just you really should know it. Okay, the name of the function, that does follow my naming rules in my style, so I'm going to keep the name there. And we do not put a colon there. It's just a syntactical thing that happens to be a difference between Python and Java. Java requires curly braces to delimit and provide scope to the body code of a method, whereas Python uses indentation to determine scope and organization of code that's inside the body of a given function. So here, indentation doesn't really matter, but I still have good style. And now that was the code that I copied and pasted from a Python project that looked good. So player, is that a variable that has scope in this situation? Yes, because player is a variable name here that is static to the whole class, meaning it's sort of like globalish. And therefore, that is fine to use player inside that set of curly braces. And pen down may or may not be a method. Let's go see. Pen down, it apparently is in turtle graphics with Python, but because player's type is turtle, and I have access to the turtle class here, but because the turtle class extends simple turtle, I find the simple turtle class, which is right, oh, that's the .class file, the simple turtle.java file. Somewhere in here, there is a method. I'm going to use Command F because I don't have time to scroll through all this. And somewhere there is a is pen down, and there's a pen down. Pen down puts the pen down. Is pen down got milk? True or false? Is the pen currently down? Get it? It's a predicate method. It was named as a question. Is pen down? Versus pen down, darn it. Ooh, I just swore in a future YouTube video. I need help from an editor in YO5 Live. Wish I knew somebody that knew how to use iMovie or Final Cut Pro. Well, back to the real task at hand, the client program. Now that I know pen down is an available method. So what a coincidence. The two languages are consistent in their turtle library to that degree. Okay, for I in range. So in Python, it's obviously for I in range, but here it's for int I equals 0, I less than upper boundary 4, I plus plus adds 1. The adds 1 was implicit with the range function in Python, but here it's not implicit. You need curly braces for that block of code, a set of curly braces within a set of curly braces, kind of like double layers of indentation. And is there a player move amount variable in scope? Yes, for the same reason the player was. I'm pretty sure. Player move amount? No, player move amount doesn't exist. Now, player move amount has to do with the player. It's a variable. So, but it needs to be static. It needs to be an int. Player move amount needs to be added, and when in doubt, just initialize something to 0. No, because then the player would never move. So let's make it 10 pixels. So player move amount is the step amount per iteration. And the player turn amount, whether it's 1 degree or 9 degrees, we'll leave it hardwired to 90. Does anybody in my current classroom know if there's a method that in turtle graphics in Java, is there a left method? No, apparently there is a turn method. So instead of a left 90 and a right 90, if we took time to dig through these classes in Java compared to their corollaries in Python as a separate set of classes somewhere online, here it's just generically turn. But then it's your obligation to either use 270 if you want to do a lot of awkward spinning, or negative 90 if you just want to do a tight spin. In dance, it's like 3/4 turn versus quarter turn. And in dance theory, it's related to this, but right now we're not in dance class. Okay, so there you go. Pen up is the opposite of pen down. That just makes sense. This should work, but I need to add these annoying semicolons to terminate complete thoughts. Semicolons go to at the end of statements, kind of like periods at the end of English sentences. But a for loop as a whole is one statement that has other statements nested in it. Technically, the semicolon would go there, but the curly braces mean that you don't need a semicolon when you have a closing curly brace. It's like redundant to the point that nobody does it. So never put the semicolon there. You'll see counterexamples in my notes. Never do that, because it actually compiles and messes up your logical execution. Okay, if this is good, I could just do player.draw square here. I'm really, okay, yes. Yes, okay, bye. Okay, Daria, you're supposed to go to Mrs. Quinlan on the way back. So player dot draw square. Empty parentheses, block this out, because we don't need that anymore. That was the old way of doing it. And now I run this program in this video and hope that it works. After a delay of like the graphics refreshing over the internet connection to Replit. And it worked as far as, but Tim, can you tell me when this runs, it started there, I wanted to go right. Is there some initialization I should do instead of turn 90 there? Okay, the video needs to end real soon before the bell rings. Okay, that's a wrap. Goodbye. We'll never know if that ran or not.